For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil, live as God's slaves. 1 Peter 2 verses 15 to 16. Living righteously, silencing ignorance and embracing responsible freedom. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil, live as God's slaves. 1 Peter 2 verses 15 to 16. Title: Living Righteously, Silencing Ignorance and Embracing Responsible Freedom. The passage you quoted is from the Bible, specifically from the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verses 15 to 16. Let's break down the passage and explore its meaning, supported by examples. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. This verse suggests that it is God's desire, or will, that believers should engage in acts of goodness, kindness, and righteousness. By doing so, they can counter or silence the ignorant and foolish speech of others. The emphasis here is on responding to negativity or criticism through virtuous actions rather than retaliating with more negativity. For example, imagine a person who faces false accusations and hears others spreading rumors about them. Instead of responding with anger or vengeance, they choose to carry themselves with integrity, showing kindness and compassion to those who speak ill of them. Through their actions, they demonstrate their character and prove the falsehood of the accusations, silencing the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil, live as God's slaves. This part of the passage highlights the tension between freedom and responsibility. It encourages believers to recognize their freedom, but also warns against misusing it as an excuse to engage in evil or immoral behavior. Instead, they should live as slaves of God, which means willingly submitting themselves to God's will and guidance. For instance, consider a situation where someone has the freedom to make choices without external constraints. Rather than using their freedom to exploit or harm others, they choose to use it responsibly, guided by moral principles and a desire to honor God. They recognize that their freedom is a precious gift, but they use it in a way that aligns with God's teachings and promotes goodness. In summary, this passage from 1 Peter 2 verses 15 to 16 highlights the importance of doing good and living virtuous lives to counteract ignorance and foolishness. It reminds believers to use their freedom responsibly and not as an excuse for wrongdoing. By living in accordance with God's will, they can positively influence others and be a shining example of righteousness.